So for those of you who follow me on social media and thought that I actually worked out hard at the gym, you would think that I was actually hanging out at the spa if you compared me to my guest that we have on this week. Kalessy Twigley is joining me. She trains in the zone every day, despite a number of health issues that would have most people just sitting on the couch and throwing in the towel. An exercise physiologist and trainer, she has explored a variety of health practices, particularly when it comes to dietary needs and monitoring, to help with her remission while still performing at her highest level. It's not only her health that she's monitoring, but also that of her daughter as well, who deals with Lyme's disease. And she trains so many people that are dealing with chronic disease. So I'm really looking forward to getting the information from her today. Welcome to Living Your Life with Leanne Lang, the podcast brought to you by Extension Marketing. And of course, for more information, you can always check out extensionmarketing.com. Thanks to all of you who have been listening, who have been liking and sharing and subscribing and letting people know about the podcast. It's great to be able to see the audience continue to grow, and also looking at the numbers too, to be able to know that everyone is listening to a podcast, a Living Your Life podcast every day, that each one is being listened to. So it's great to be able to see. But we have great guests, and I think that's why people keep coming back. And I am so looking forward to this, Kalessy. Welcome.
Likewise. Yeah. Thank you.
So this is really different because we were both clothed.
Yes.
And
thankfully
we have a little bit of makeup on. I have to say, I think I was, when I first met you, crazy intimidated by you, just based on the fact that you are so focused. There seems to be something about you that when you are in this environment, everything else around you shuts down. Am I the only person to have ever said that to you?
No.
Okay.
A lot of people ask me why, and presently, life takes many paths. Life is hectic and it's chaotic, and it focuses me. So I have this clarity of thought or lack thereof, and some people meditate, some people take hot baths. I like to train hard, and I come from an athletic background. Mm-hmm. So as you do,
I know.
Once it's in you, and it's either I'm going 100, 120%, or what's the point?
See, but it's funny because, and I often tell people, and I know you're very similar, if I'm being a bitch, Tony will say to me, get to the gym. My workout for me is my therapy.
Yes, absolutely.
Being at the gym for me is my release. Mm-hmm. But I have my phone with me. I will check an email in between sets. I will do things. I have watched you shut everything out. You're in the zone.
It's because jump is on the clock, right? So if I drop my kids off, I've got, X amount of minutes where I can get it on. So
that's the kids being down in the daycare.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
picking them up from school
mm-hmm.
or a client, So I have a certain amount of time allocated, and there's stuff that has to be done.
Because you write it all down. Everything that you're doing is jotted down. Trust me, I have watched you in the gym. I see what you do.
I guess so.
But it has paid off, because for someone, and learning about that you deal with so many health issues, it's amazing to see that your body is in such amazing, beautiful shape. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. What I didn't realize is when I was asking you questions, you were born in South Africa?
I was born in South Africa.
What was your family doing there?
So everyone on my mom's side is still there. My parents met in Europe, and my brother was born here. They moved back, and then I was born there, but moved here at about 2 or so. So
okay.
Young age. Yeah.
Have you been back? Do you
Once.
Go back? That's it. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not like South Africa is a massive.
No, and I don't know if this is related, but I did the only time I went back was about 6 months before I was diagnosed with Crohn's, and I had a stomach bug there, and some professionals say that can be kind of the link to developing the condition. So that was the only time I went back. I had a great time. It was funny. It was as though I met my whole family for the first time.
You would have been, 18 at the time?
I was 19. 18 or 19. Yeah.
When you went back for the first time?
Yeah. No, I must be 19. I was in my first year of university. So, yeah, it was then.
So your parents meet in Europe. You're born in South Africa. Yeah. Is someone Canadian that you ended up back here?
No, my dad is first, I guess my dad's parents, first generation.
Okay.
They are from Poland and Europe, so yeah, a mishmash.
You're a mishmash of everything.
That's right. And we are in Canada. That is
it is
a
melting
mishmash.
pot.
That's it.
Absolutely. And I noticed because you were athletic and active from a very early on. Was that part of the family dynamics, that it was just sports and health and kind of being active was part of what it was to grow up in that family?
Not so much. My mom she swam and she played field hockey in South Africa, and she actually, she's in her 70s now, but before she became an artist, she was a phys ed teacher. So I'm similar in that regard. And my dad, he did a lot more mountaineering sorts of things, and my brother followed that. So my brother has done a lot of mountaineering. He was an avid climber, a rock climber. But I went to an all-girls school to start, and I started sport then, and I think it just, I don't know, it did something for me, and I like the competitive aspect. I've always been a physical person, and from that, I just, I put my mind to it, and I pursued the sport.
But you have a ton of sports that you did,
I do,
and they're
yes.
not like the typical,
No. Well, I did.
Everyday sport.
I played soccer and volleyball at a fairly high level. I played in high school, but I played club as well. And I guess as far as the training is concerned, I was small, and I played volleyball, and I knew, okay, I need to have a good vertical, and with soccer, I need to have a strong kick. Those were in layman's terms at the age of 12. That's what I was looking at. So I would get down on the washing machine in our basement, and I'd ask my dad to put on those old school hand weights where you can put the 5 pounds or 10 pounds on, and I get him to stand there. And I mean, he followed me all the way up he supported me with my sport, but he would put them on my legs, and I do leg extensions, quad extensions, sitting on the washing machine with them, and then take them out, and then I do my calf raises on the stairs downstairs to help with my vertical with volleyball. So and this was my own head
you're at 12
thinking,
kind of thinking, I've got to figure this out.
I need an edge on these bigger girls, right? And so I thought, this is how, apply extra weight so that when I do hit the field or the court, I can actually play to that level.
You came by it honestly.
What's that?
You came by it honestly. If
Yes,
you're a kid in the
yeah.
basement sitting on a washing machine.
That was it. So I don't, I don't know where it came from.
But you have sports that are like goal ball. Like, you have a number of different sports on there that's different than the norm.
Well, I've trained. So I've trained, so jumping ahead, went to university. I always knew I wanted to do kinesiology. And I wasn't, in high school, there's some courses I enjoyed, some I didn't. Physics calculus couldn't handle it. But then I took a kinesiology course in grade 13, and we had to do an equation that measured the torque on a figure skater's knee when they land. And I had this aha moment. That's why I use calculus. And then I could do it because I was interested in it. So
I wish someone had told me that when I was trying to pass my second calculus exam in university, that I failed worse the second time than I did the first time.
You just needed to restructure the question so it would appeal to gymnastics or whatever it is. But then going on to university, I was given the wonderful opportunity to work with some international level competitors, and they just happened to be, there was a goalball player, so that's a blind man's sport, and it's a fascinating sport, and we had this ball that has a little bell in it, and there was a strength component, so he would bring his dog in, so you learn how to deal with someone who's visually impaired, just holding the elbow, so on and so forth, at a high level of fitness. And then another one, Paul Tingley, and he was amazing. He was a tetraplegic or a paraplegic sailor, and he went to the Worlds, and I was able to train him, and he was a big skier, and he just got off of the ski lift. He decided to take a jump, landed on his neck, and that was it. And this person right after rehab, he thought, what can I do? And he went to sailing. And he went to the very top level, and I was able to, I remember doing a report on him in one of my university courses, and just the perseverance and the positivity and open-mindedness and dedication, it was amazing.
So here you are studying and your subjects or the people that you're working closest with are dealing with life-altering situations. So you were never really dealing right off the bat with the healthy kind of, everything's good, everything feels good type of person right off the bat. Like you were exposed to having to figure out how to make it better for people who don't have the same, it's not an easy path.
Yes. No, exactly. And thinking outside of the box and taking the person for where they're at that time and working with them together to attain that goal. So it was, and learning so much from them in the process. And I worked with both of those individuals after I had gotten sick. So it was maybe, I started training them maybe even just in my second year of university, and I was sick in my first. So I went from, I wouldn't say on my deathbed, but pretty close to it, and nursed myself back at that point. And then I got to deal with these people, which is great because I was 22, maybe 21, and trying to work with it emotionally and psychologically and physically, and being able to coach people who have been there and who have excelled. So I can attribute my successes. I am so thankful to those individuals, wherever they are right now.
So I'm going to take you back then, because you brought in the illness, and then you're working with these athletes, but it's after you've already had your life-altering kind of experience. So you take us back, because were you healthy? Like when you look back, like were you healthy up until 18, 19, or was there always a situation that didn't seem quite right with your stomach or how you were feeling?
Well, it's funny because I remember, I think I was in grade 7 or something close like that, and I had a really big test, and I had an upset stomach that morning, and I told my mom, and she said, "This is just nerves." And I don't know if that was related, but I remember that. But then, I played the sport, and I rowed. And so on any given day in, grade, I'd say 10 to 13, I could have, one of my days, could be rowing. We were on the water at 5 a.m. Afternoon, we might have a volleyball practice at 3:30 when school is done, or a game. And then if I played club volleyball or soccer, I might have a game at night, or I'd have to go and play volleyball I think we had a practice like 9 to 10:30 in Orleans, and I lived in Quebec, which was crazy. So I was eating a lot, and I remember one of the best experience was mom picking me up, and on our way home, she'd pick up a big, like a 750 milliliter cottage cheese tub, and we'd time it perfectly at the bakery to get a full baguette that was like so warm you could hardly touch it. And I remember, because I'm a mama, I would do it too. She'd eat the crusty ends, and I would eat the entire baguette dipped into the cottage cheese, and they'd be gone by the time we got home. And then I'd have dinner. And in retrospect, what are some really big allergens? Okay, well, there's dairy, and there's wheat or gluten. Those are just two of them, and I was just demolishing stuff like that. And I think I've got sensitivities. My mom cannot handle gluten, and she only realized that. I mean, she's 76. She only realized that maybe 2 years ago, literally. She cannot handle it. So and I gut biome, I mean, my daughter's got some of my stuff too, right? So I was just consuming excessive quantities of everything I shouldn't have been.
But you were busy. You're a kid. You're not thinking that you've got these allergies. No. You're thinking I could be anxious about a test.
And
I've done 3 sports that day.
Right.
So it wasn't like this was on your radar that something was terribly wrong.
No. And do you ever remember feeling really tired when you were 17? Like you just keep going. Like you just go, and you're never tired, and you go and have a good time. So
and if you had
you're
cramps,
not aware.
Or you had stuff that was wrong, something was going on.
Yeah.
So you say that it was there was a kickstart. It was the trip back to South Africa.
Yes.
Something triggered, because that was the start of you not being well.
Yeah, and I gotta say stress is a huge thing, because I was, I don't want to say not happy. I wanted to go to university. I was having a great time. But, financially, the way my family worked is, you got to work for some of this, right? And I took it. So I had student loan, I had to work, all of that. I mean, again, most of my university was the work was where I learned everything, right? The school was secondary, if you wish, or just supplementary almost. But I was already a personal trainer at that time. And I remember crying on the phone to my dad saying, why do I have to do this when I could be a trainer now? And thank goodness for him saying, you're going to school. Because, geez. So I was not, I was stressed. There was a lot of responsibility that all of a sudden I had that I think I wasn't sure how to deal with it. And I felt, confidently like I had everything I need to, go forward in a profession. And then we went to South Africa, and it was an emotional trip for me. I guess it was my brother, my mom, and I went, and they're two artists. So they're very close, and I felt separated a little bit. I've always been a little bit different than everyone in my family, and we're the only ones in Canada, so it's not like I have aunts and uncles to, connect with. That was it. And I was very far away from home, and I think all of that stress in South Africa, I had this pain, and I remember it, and it hurt. And it hurt when I pressed in, and I remember that, and that was the beginning. And then I got back to school, and I just got sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker until it was emergency.
So how sick are you? Like what are you doing?
Am I like right now?
No, like at that point.
Okay,
at that
right,
point when
sorry.
you're in the you end up hospitalized.
Right.
So what was happening?
So what was happening? I didn't know, and I went to Dalhousie, and there was about a month strike there, and I didn't go home. I was working. I was there. We were having a great time, not going to school and working. It was perfect, except I had this pain in my side. It would always be in my side. And then I started to have frequent urination. And I went to the doctor, and they would say, oh, I think it's a bladder infection. So they'd give me antibiotics, which, hey, that makes it so much worse. Antibiotics kills your gut. And I don't know how many bouts of antibiotics I had. And then my side started to swell. And I had connections with the physiotherapy department. So I went, and I remember the physiotherapist looked at it, and she touched it, and she said, I'm not going there because that's not muscle. I don't know what's going on, but that is not something I can help you with. So I just, I'd wake up, and I would be drenched with sweat. It's like you threw me in the shower, and there I was. And it just continued on, and I wouldn't know what was wrong, but I'd think, okay, the worst thing is maybe it's my appendix or something. So my doctor eventually said, you know what, we'll do a CT scan. So we did a CT scan. She called me, I think that night at residence, and she said, I can't see anything because there's so much fluid buildup. It could be your appendix, it could be something else. Take a set of clothes, go in, check yourself in an emergency. I went, and and at this point, like, there were moments when I was in the meal hall. I was eating, I think it was a piece of bread and toast, or bread and butter, and I was buckled over in pain, and I could hardly get up to my room. And anyway, so that night I went in, and I went in, and I said, can you just give me something? Like, I think it's a kidney infection, or maybe, and he said, you're not going anywhere until we figure this out. So they go in, I get an IV, they're pumping me full of antibiotics or whatever, because I was just obviously really sick. And then I remember sleeping and waking up, and talk about no bedside manner or anything, but this resident doctor stood at the foot of my bed, and she said, you have a hole in your bowel. You have an abscess the size of a grapefruit. So that explains the weird side swelling. And it's probably as a consequence of Crohn's disease. So we're going to have to operate. We're going to have to take that out. There's a chance you might have an ileostomy. And she explained what that is. So what that is they cannot reconnect your bowels together once they've removed the segment. And you have to, they take viewer discretion advised. So they take part of your bowel out of your stomach, and they sew up around. So you've got your bowel separated, the other's clamped off, and there's a pouch there. So an ileostomy is small intestine, or you have a colonoscopy, which is large intestine. So an ileostomy, and we might have to finish with that temporarily because there's too much infection. So I still remember lying there, total shock. Like but I remember it clear as day. And all I can envision is someone with a garbage bag, a black garbage bag slung over their shoulder with like poop in it. Like I really had no idea what this thing looked like. And it was so, I didn't know what to do. So I went in for emergency surgery that day, and they said to me before, there's about 5% chance that you'll have a temporary ileostomy. Hopefully we can take care of everything. And I remember one of the most emotional times for me was when they put me in. This is a 19-year-old, like healthy, whatever, going in, and they put me in. When you have surgery, they put your arms side to side and they strap you down or whatever. And I remember them doing that. And I remember that oxygen mask coming down, and it took every ounce of my, I don't know what it was, to not push their hand away and say, forget it. I'm going to go home and I'm going to die or whatever it is. But I was so afraid of going into the unknown, an operation, a big garbage bag over my shoulder. Like I didn't feel like I had the strength for that. I would prefer just going home and going into a corner and let me be, see you next life kind of thing. So anyways, that happened. And then I woke up, and I remember, the only thing I remember before I passed out again was the doctor saying, I'm sorry, we had to give you an ileostomy. And then I fell back asleep. And that's how life started again in a different direction. Yeah.
So you wake up, have your parents come in from out of town?
Yeah.
Like, do you have family that's with you? I mean, here you were just living this normal university life, and then you've got recovery, you've got a change of mindset of how you are now living. Like,
yes. No, well, okay, so my brother went to Mount Allison at the time, so he came in. But my mom, as soon as we knew how severe it was, she came right in, and she just had a hip replacement last week, and I'm looking forward to her having a new hip, being functional again, but I was also looking forward to waiting on her and giving her everything and giving back. And I can't, it was not the same because she's so active. So she's up and doing things. Like, I was in hospital for 14 days. I think 7 of those, there was no food. It was just because everything, as soon as the bowel is touched, it kind of is disabled for a period of time. So anyways, it was just IV. And she sat and she read to me the entire book of Cider House Rules, the novel, of which I remember nothing, obviously, because I was under heavy meds. But anyway, so she came in, and she stayed with me for that entire amount of time. She stayed in my dorm room, and was there every single day except for one where she went to visit my brother at Mount Allison, and that was a really emotional day, and it was a blue day for me for sure. So yeah, I had great support that way, and friends came to visit, that sort of thing.
And so then how was what did you change? What did you have to change as you got your energy back, as you were starting to feel a little bit better? How different was then the way you did things?
Well, I wasn't on medication to begin with, so I went back, and I didn't know any better. So, all I knew when they sit down, a nutritionist comes in and you've lost, I was a rake. I lost all
your weight, I would
had
think.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I was a skeleton. And they give you the Canadian Food Guide, and they say, even then, you want to have higher, lots of peanut butter and lots of starches to, rebuild. Somehow I knew, because I did a lot of nutrition in university too, although I was still in my first year, but I just knew that doesn't sound right. It just sounds a little bit too basic for what I'm going through. So I'm someone who likes to know everything about whatever it is that I want to know about. So I went home, and as I recovered, I mean, yes, I started just eating what I could, but I started really looking into nutrition with Crohn's disease, that sort of thing. And I was given the name of a book called Breaking the Vicious Cycle, which is the carbohydrate-specific diet, by a girlfriend of my brother or something. It doesn't matter, but she had Crohn's disease, and she said it did wonders for her. So I bought this book, and I read it start to finish, and it gives you the science behind it, and then it gives you all the lists of foods that you can have, to avoid, to eat. And I followed that through and through. I just cut out everything. So there was it was cold turkey. That's it. And moving, I mean, that was when I was 21. It's 15 years later, pretty much, and I'm going strong. Yeah, I mean, I've changed a lot during that
you've
period
done
of
some
time.
I know, because I've followed you, but you've done some really crazy. Am I allowed to say crazy? Because I thought you were like nuts to do it. But you keep trying to explore new ways to eat to keep yourself as healthy as possible, which one of them included like this carnivore.
Yeah, right.
You ate meat that's all you ate.
Yes. Well, that's okay. So interesting. So I have stuck most consistently with this carbohydrate-specific diet.
Okay, can you explain that for me?
Yes.
And okay, first I want you to explain just really quickly, what exactly is Crohn's, and what are you dealing with on a daily basis?
Okay.
This podcast is brought to you by Extension Marketing. They're a new breed of marketing agency that acts as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective marketing strategies that will grow your business. I can speak to this personally, as I've been using the Extension Marketing team to help me launch and grow my business. Founder Pat Whalen has been a lifesaver for me, a genuine coach guiding me along the way into uncharted territory. Tell them you're a friend of the show and receive a free 1-hour consultation. Check them out at extensionmarketing.com.
Crohn's is an autoimmune condition. So what happens is, everyone's gut gets, your immune system gets activated by certain things going in and out of your digestive tract. So with someone with Crohn's disease, the body is, when it starts that process of that immune process, it doesn't know when to stop. This is very layman's terms. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm probably botching it. But so what happens is, if you are constantly or if your gut is unhealthy and there's bacteria in there that your body doesn't like, it will try to get rid of it, but it gets where it's eating itself away. So that's why I had a hole in my bowel, is because you get these ulcers and your body doesn't know when to shut down. So that's why a lot of these medications, they're suppressive drugs for your immune system, so that you don't, it suppresses your ability to deal with things to begin with. So I took it as, well, you know what, it makes perfect sense. Why not eat something? This is kind of the carbohydrate-specific diet. Remove everything that, even for the healthy person, triggers some kind of work to be done by the digestive tract. So eat everything that is most simply digested.
Which is what?
Which is not red meat. Anyways, which is the carnivore diet. But so eliminating the allergens, right? So soy, gluten, dairy, very fibrous things. So things like nuts. Yeah.
What are you left to eat then? So what were you left to decide that you were going to eat and was going to be the gentlest on your stomach?
So I to be honest, I got rid of all the allergens, and then but it's more specific than, and sugars. I mean, some are okay. So there's the fructose in those. So there's fruit, that's fine. But then you get into another tangent, which is candida. So it's overgrowth of yeast, which is not good for your gut flora. And fruit, as good as it is, it feeds the yeast. So I know, looking back, when I was in high school eating those baguettes, and I would eat so much, I had an excessive amount of yeast overgrowth in my gut, and I had no idea. And I went to university in my first year in residence. We sat right behind the dessert table. Oh my goodness. I demolished that dessert table. And if I wasn't sick, Frosh 25, well, like Frosh 70, I swear. But I was sick, so I never gained any weight in my first year.
I was going to say, you're eating all of this, and I'm thinking at least the Frosh 15, but you're going, no. Like, it was, but your body, you were so sick.
It was getting sick. It was, yeah. So, but what happens, and I think a lot of people deal with this, is that craving, I have to have my carbs, or I have to have my pasta, or, I crave that little sweet thing. That's your body telling you that something's asking for it, and it's not you're hungry, you're not needing food. There's something else in there. So with the carbohydrate specific diet, it's kind of an oxymoron, because it's telling you not to have all of those refined carbohydrates, to have slower, lower glycemic index sort of foods, but to eliminate the common allergens as well. So I did that. And there's a whole step process. And to be honest, it's been a long time since I've gone back to that book or that way of eating. So, but I know that, for instance, like no nuts to begin with, no, probably red meats, that sort of thing. So no eggs perhaps. So eating very simply, and then slowly reintroducing foods back. Yeah.
At what point did you feel like you were back to being healthy, back to the gym and working out? And what was the situation then with
sorry, go ahead.
No, like, how were you feeling? Like, how was everything functioning?
Well, I got back to being physical very quickly, because happened in April of my first year of university, and I competed in a fitness competition. I think it was two years later, but I went back to training. I had this, because you get really sick, and you go through these stages of, anger and sadness, and all of the various stages. And I thought, I want to train athletes. That's what I wanted to do for my living. I can't train athletes if I'm sick. So I got to get better in a hurry and master this, so I can get back to doing what I really, really want to do. So I got back to being active as soon as I could. I knew there was scar tissue there. I've suffered probably 30 bowel obstructions that have to take me to hospital, like without a doubt. And so there's a lot of scar tissue. There's still a lot of scar tissue in there. Like when Colin and I go to a movie, if he's on this side and I want to lean over on him, I can't do that for very long, because things start, like that feeling of scar tissue pulling. It's very uncomfortable. I can do it this way. So squatting, for instance, is probably, for me, it's contraindicated, because I got so much scar tissue in there that it has twisted my hips, all that sort of thing.
I know, but I don't notice that, because all I see is this person who's doing everything at the gym with perfect form and lifting at least 150 pounds more than the strongest man that's there. So, I see it from a different perspective. And then I see what it's like for you then to train people who, as I mentioned at the very top of this, like, who are dealing with chronic disease, and that it is possible. And this is really what I want to emphasize for people. It is possible to be able to have this mobility, to be able to reach certain athletic endeavors or fitness levels while still dealing with chronic disease and issues. And you've dealt with a lot of clients because of it.
Yes.
Like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose you have to want it, and you have to want health enough, because it is not struggling or dealing with or overcoming chronic disease does not run along the same path as our, North American way of life. So you have to go against the grain that we have. And for some people, and everyone needs to work, everyone needs to take care of their children. These health practices are not necessarily the quick fix, or they're not easy, and they take time, and it's not comfortable all the time. So with my clients that have some of chronic disease, some it's more a skeletal thing, like spinal issues. But with those with chronic, and a lot of people suffer from autoimmune conditions of some form. It can come out in eczema. My son has eczema, or my daughter with Lyme's disease. you have to take the person from where they are and help. It's all about self-efficacy with what I coach with my clients, giving them baby steps, things that they can manage in their everyday life that will ultimately get them feeling better. And I call it the bug. Once you have the bug, and that can be, going and hitting the weights hard. It can also be drinking more water, whatever the bug is for you that makes you start to feel better and want more, and see those people out there and think, maybe I can be like that. Maybe I can be normal again, or whatever, or feel normal, feel good. That gets them on the road, and then they're more likely to do something a little bit more extreme, like prepping on a Sunday night, for your meals, or coming to see, like not bailing on our sessions, or going for that walk.
What is the excuse that they most often use? I mean, if you're dealing with an autoimmune,
Yeah.
they're in pain. I mean, my mom has arthritis. There are days when I know that she aches, just
Yes.
putting weight bearing hurts, and yet she'll still go, okay, I'll get on the bike today.
Yes.
What does it take for individuals to move past that when they're uncomfortable? That comfort zone is very hard to break.
It's self-efficacy. So it means just giving them something for that person that they can accomplish. And once they've accomplished that, then you move to something else. You make sure they can articulate. So, because, they can think, well, that felt kind of good. But if you ask them, how did that feel? And as soon as they say it felt really good, they hear themselves say it felt really good. And it reiterates what's going on. So then so for instance, I'll say with one client, and this is very generic, but just start drinking more water. So, you take your elastics and you put 4 elastics in your water bottle, and every time you have a water bottle, you fill it up, you take out off an elastic. Just do that this week. That's it. Or I'll say something else. Write down what you eat. And then the next
people
week,
hate that.
They do, and not everyone wants to do it.
Hate doing these
Yes.
food diaries. It is painful.
So then I don't get them to do it. I wait until they're ready. And I've trained some people for a long time, and sometimes it takes a long time until they're like, you know what? And I'll keep asking them, is there anything I can help you with your nutrition? You want to try this? And I don't, and then I'm not going to badger them about it unless that's the kind of person that they are, and they need that. And I'll start to know that.
Are there things, though, that you have to be aware of as a trainer, or when you are training someone, or when you are heading to the gym, when you are dealing with chronic issues?
Yes.
That you have to, it's almost like a checklist. Like, if you're feeling this, don't do this.
Oh, yeah, it depends on the condition. Yeah, absolutely.
For you.
Oh, for me.
Okay, so let's just use you as an example. When you have a flare-up.
Yeah.
Or you're talking about these 20 things that you've had that you said the word, I didn't catch it, when you've had to go to the hospital.
Oh, okay, yeah, bowel obstructions, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, for sure. So, okay.
Like, when is there like, okay, I'm pushing it too much, or this is healthy to do and it's safe and I'm good?
The best I can say is know thyself, know your body. So, and that takes people, again, and I'm blessed to be able to have the job that I have, and have the ability to, and the experience, I guess, of having been so sick, to get to know your body really well. And then, like for me, I know if I start to get a very certain pain in a certain place in my stomach, and my husband was a massage therapist, so that's fantastic, and he can't massage it out of me, and it starts getting worse, I know this is a bowel obstruction. And then I know, yes, of course, training is not even it's more like I need to get to the hospital.
Let's go to the hospital.
Second. Yeah, exactly.
What, if you can, tips for people who right now are just lying on a couch feeling there's no point for me to get up and move, I'm sick, let's just stay here?
Try something little. Just try the smallest of things, and before that you need to want it, right? So if you can, I say forgive but don't forget. Forgive your body for what has happened, but don't forget about before, how you were before. And no, it's the same you, and you can get back there. So sometimes it takes guidance, So if you know that you need help, get the support that you need, but just choose the little things and don't be hard on yourself. Don't bash yourself for it. It's like someone has a bad meal and they think their day is done for. Mm-hmm. Think about the next meal, so take that next little step. It's an individual thing. Some things work better. Some people need someone kicking them out of the bed and saying, come on, let's go. Some it's more it's very personal, and it's a confidence thing. I don't want to fail or that there. And I felt this in hospital when I was up in that whatever floor of the hospital. And I remember sitting and looking at the people walking outside. And I thought, that was me. This world is not that world anymore. Like, they don't know what they've got. This up here is a different universe than down there. Yeah, and that person walking, I was like, that's not me anymore. And that was like, that really hit me hard. And that person can be you again, So no
I think how scared one must be when you're in a hospital setting and your life has changed drastically.
And you're 19 and you're in with, fairly old people or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
To have that, but to look down at the people. Yeah. God, I even remember that, after my C-sections, and I was like, out of body experience. I'm exhausted. I've gone through 26 hours of labor. I can't get up. I can't move because I've been cut like from side to side, and going, I will never feel normal again. Yeah. Is this your new normal? How you feel, like that there are good days and that there are bad days, and there are days when you just know you've got to watch what you're eating or watch what's happening. Mm-hmm. Well, is it a daily checklist for you?
Yes, absolutely. And it is. It's not so much a checklist, but I still worry all the time. I mean, I'm a worrywart. I worry about my family. I worry about my kids. But so I'm hyper aware of my body, hyper aware of it. And I know little things that feel right or don't feel right. And it can be exhausting. And that's probably part of the reason I go to the gym and I just try and kill it, because it gets me out of there. Yes, it makes me feel functional and strong and healthy. I am healthy though. And I believe that. I got sick. I think a lot of it had to do with my genetic composition that I had no idea about, and I didn't do the right things. So that is something else I would tell people, is be aware of what makes you feel good or not, and take and listen to your body, because I think we just pound through life and it's not going to happen to me. I still have the it's not going to happen to me.
You're much more aware of it now, though, because you know what you're dealing with. But then to know that your daughter has Lyme's disease. Yes. So what are you having to watch for with your daughter?
Well, it's as soon as I found out that she had Lyme's disease, and I finally, it was like the missing part of the puzzle came into why I have Crohn's disease. I was given that disease so I could deal with my daughter, because as soon as she became sick, and the way that it manifested with her was ticks. So she was bitten. I think it was by a mosquito, but she got Lyme's disease from it. It was only finally diagnosed after she was 1, and it was diagnosed at 3. And on December 6th, whatever year it was, but I remember that date, she came out with these full body ticks, and she could barely walk. It was just night and day. And I started paying attention to when they'd really flare up. And it was, for instance, after she had her milk in the morning. So I knew right away, okay, there's a dietary component to this. I know how to do this. I can do this. So right away I eliminated milk. I eliminated gluten. She wasn't really having soy. But I took all of those allergens away, and it helped so much. No, I didn't cure her. But mm-hmm. I helped enough so that those things could come down.
But for you, food,
right?
Like understanding the science behind food has been the essential lifesaver for you.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, we are what we eat. And I worry a little bit because my daughter's been on medication, on antibiotics every day for the past 2.5 years. and antibiotics are horrible for the gut. So I try so hard. She's sick. So you can't be like, you can't eat that. I don't want her to form a bad relationship with food. I'm very honest with her in an age-appropriate way. I think that's important. But I know I need to limit, and I can't give her all the fun fish crackers that all the other kids are having because of her situation. And I think that hopefully is going to pull her through with this. The worst thing I could imagine is her getting Crohn's disease because it's in her genetic makeup. But I am a firm believer that if you are diligent and you really do take care consistently of your health via nutrition, that can be avoided. I think a lot of illnesses, a lot of chronic, a lot of autoimmune conditions can be avoided. You might have the genetic makeup for it, but it might not come out. And you talk about flare-ups. I mean, knock on wood, I don't get flare-ups. Like I don't. I have discomfort and I had a lot of obstructions, but that's a mechanical thing. That's a scar tissue thing. It's not from the actual.
It's not your
disease.
Body saying you're pushing me too much.
Yeah.
Have you had that success with clients to be able to find that fine balance between not having flare-ups, and feeling good, and eating healthy and feeling good?
I'm not qualified to remove someone from their medication. A lot of when people come to see me, they're already fully on some sort of medication. So, but ironically, a lot of them in our initial discussion, they say, I've heard these, testimonials. And I anecdotally, I know that people can get off this, and by this time next year or in a few years, I don't want to have to deal with medication anymore, which I'm all for. But I only see these people, say 2 to 4 times a week. Right? So that's 2 to 4 hours in a full week of however many hours there are in a week. There's only so much that I per se can do. I really try and coach on it's a process. And no, I haven't gotten anyone off of medication thus far. And I would be too afraid to even suggest it.
I wasn't saying that.
Oh, sorry.
No, I wasn't saying that. I mean, but that people are feeling that they've gotten over this hump of chronic choosing not to be active, choosing just to kind of give into the illness, that you have seen this shift in mindset, that they've swapped that. They're living healthier. They're active. Yes. They're even more active than maybe before they got sick.
Yeah, for sure. There are not many people that say, "Oh, this is bogus." Like, I'm just gonna go. So I mean, yes, for sure. I mean, and in my past, and I won't talk about this too much, but I remember in university I was given my very first. This gentleman was obese for sure, and I just flung at him everything I could. We're gonna get in the pool. We're gonna go for what, what? And he did the fade away, which is he just slowly stopped coming, and then he just disappeared. And
what did you learn from that?
Felt so horrible. Then I went to visit the father of a friend of mine, maybe 2 or 3 years later. I was still in university, and he was pre-diabetic, just not healthy. And we went to buy shoes with him, and he was drenched in sweat, just trying to get one leg on top of the other to take his shoe off, and out of breath. And that moment, I realized what I had done wrong. What had you done wrong? I had just been so keen and, tried to get him to all the things I know on paper that you should do for an individual fitting this demographic, but he was not there yet. And from that moment on, I take everyone for where they are right now. So some people, it's challenging. I have one gentleman who came to see me once a week, and he has a chronic condition. And now we're at 2 times a week, shorter periods of time, working on the nutrition. So it's a process. And, sometimes there, have a good couple of weeks, and then, there's a holiday, and, the in-laws bring goodies or something, and then you kind of have to restart again. And that's life. And it's, it's not my life because I live it, and I was there a long time ago, and this is my profession, and I'm educated in it. So I cannot inflict that upon anyone else or expect them to travel along the path as I have. And I mean, I've made my goofs as well, for sure.
Well, I appreciate though that you said
Right?
I did it wrong. Like
Yeah.
that you
Oh,
could
yeah.
appreciate I wasn't.
I did the
I was,
carnivore diet wrong too. That's for sure.
So this was something, and I want to touch on this really quickly because we had talked about it, and I saw
Mm-hmm.
your post, and you were eating like how many steaks, how much meat,
God,
like
too much.
That's all you ate for how long?
Yes. I loved it, but until I really was not well. I started in August, and I'll tell you why in a sec. And then, when have I started? I think December, early December or late November. I started to feel I was starting to feel not good a little bit before that, I think.
Why, first off?
Okay.
Why would you do a carnivore? Like it was all meat.
Okay, yes. The reason is, so here I am following all of these health, or I'm very strict with my nutrition. Guess what? For the past, I don't know, before marriage, I don't know, ever since I started that breaking the vicious cycle, that diet or that way of style of eating, man, my stomach might be flat in the morning, but boy, I am so distended, so bloated by the end of the day, or I was. And
we all are. I can start.
Right.
I stare at the day and I'm like, oh my god, I look so good. This is great.
Yes.
I go to bed and I'm like, oh my god, I'm 6 months pregnant.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Like that's.
And that was.
I try to tell myself that's normal.
Yes, right. And I tried to tell myself, I'm so glad my husband loves me and everyone still loves me the way I'm at night versus how I'm in the morning. But oh my goodness, I have an event, and I need to wear something, and I'm just going to wear a lot of baby doll dresses, And so I was dealing with that, and it doesn't feel good. It didn't feel good. But then I started, and it was kind of middle of the winter last year, where my legs were swelling, like they were edemic. I could press in my ankles and, it would stay. And then it extended higher up. And I went to the doctor and he said, well, it can be sometimes hotter weather. And I was like, well, we're kind of in like early spring here. This is not it. I know something's not right. And it just didn't go away. And I thought, this is okay. This is inflammation. And yes, I've got Crohn's disease. No, I don't have a flare up with the Crohn's. And this is what I'm talking about, being in tune with your body. I'm getting this bloating, and now it doesn't matter if I'm eating, broccoli or not. I'm just always bloated. It's not even like a morning thing anymore, and I'm getting this swelling. So there is something that is not working here. And boy, I'm someone who, I don't take a lot of supplements, or I didn't take a lot of supplements, but I did take, the omegas and the probiotics and the, have my greens. And I was concerned that this is not going down the right path. So off we go camping with the kids, and we listened to a podcast by Jordan Peterson, interviewed by Joe Rogan about this carnivore diet. Jordan Peterson is...
I can see Colin in the car going, oh, please, let's just shut this off because
No,
Kalessy's getting an idea
heard
to do this.
it, and he thought, I just want you to hear this because I don't know what to think, because his daughter he has all kinds of these chronic issues, depression. She had juvenile arthritis, which is super rare, had knee ankle replacements early on in life, like 17. And she started going on meat and greens only, and like 70% of it or something cleared up. Then she went all beef. She was very sick, and he went on it, and
this is the guy who's doing this podcast.
Jordan Peterson, and he's I don't know if you've heard, he's a very well educated, very anyways, he's a great person to listen to about a lot of topics, and he's someone who's very objective and science based. And he did something crazy like this, and it was for autoimmune conditions. And I listened to it, I thought, this is kind of crazy. But then I also was thinking, I've been trying everything else and it has not been working. So we go off camping, and camping was, camping, there's a lot of bending down in tents. And I was bending down, and I needed to stand up because I was losing all circulation in my ankles because I was so puffy. And then when we got home, I thought, you know what? I'm going to try it. And this is no fruit, no nothing, just beef, water, or you start with meat, then it's just beef, water, and coffee. I gotta have my coffee, and And so I wasn't eating far from it because I wasn't having the the
I get
complex
that.
carbs, that sort of thing.
But you ended up eating a lot of meat over
I
a long
did,
period of time.
Yeah, I did.
Did you see it go down in inflammation?
Within 3 days, all inflammation went away. And I felt good. I felt really good. And I don't even think I ever got into ketosis. Maybe a little bit, because I eat a lot. And so I would have maybe like 5 T-bone steaks a day. And that's, yeah, right. But I loved every second of it.
You would have 5
But-
T-bone steaks a day?
Yeah, for sure. But here's the thing is,
How much?
then
What were your grocery? I'm sorry. What was the grocery bill like?
Colin, my husband can't listen to that. I don't. It was a lot.
Okay.
It was a lot. It's gone down substantially since then, but it was hard too because that was kind of all I could eat. And I thought, and the thing is with these, you're really ravenous for the first little bit with these diets, but then your body starts switching over and being able to use it a little bit more effectively and efficiently. So then you start eating less. And I used to eat every hour before all of this. Like I'd have to eat something. Now, and I've kept with it, but I would eat 2 meals a day. So I'd go into some kind of intermittent fasting, and that's all I need. And for the first time in a long time, like I would leave the house without packing a snack, and I would go for a period of time and I wouldn't even think about food. Like the amount of space that clears up in your head is amazing, Like it's not like, oh, what should I eat next? Oh, I'll have some meat. I'll have a lot of meat till I'm full, and then I won't eat again until I need to eat again.
The inflammation went down, but then it didn't last because you...
No, I did not have the inflammation, but I started, my stomach started getting quite upset, and I looked into it because I thought, again, being aware that something is not right, and I think I was suffering from gut dysbiosis, which is... it's the complete elimination of healthy gut bacteria with unhealthy gut bacteria coming in. And that can happen as a consequence of a highly inflammatory,
I could see this maybe for someone who was healthy otherwise,
Yeah, right.
doing something like this for the inflammation, but with the amount of factors that were already going on in your stomach.
No, but my stomach was okay. I was just bloated all the time. And that took care of all of that, and I was less
I'm just thinking of digesting 5 T-bone steaks.
Yeah, right.
In a day. I just don't see that. I don't know. Maybe I need to go listen to this podcast and it changed my mindset a little bit. But I when I would listen to what you were eating and I would see your post, I'd be like, how is this humanly possible?
Yeah, I didn't think it was either. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but red meat specifically, grass-fed, so quality grass-fed beef, it has so many of the nutrients, all of the nutrients. It's comparable to kale or blueberries as far as a lot of your nutrients are concerned, and your all of that stuff. So I looked at a lot of research, and then I looked at a lot of anecdotal information, and it seemed like everyone with autoimmune conditions, and this isn't just from Instagram, this is like actually looking into it substantially. A lot of their people with colitis, they went into remission, all sorts of things. So I thought I'm going to give it a try, because I'm a believer of trying things out, and before I can stamp my approval on it or what, I need to try it out. That's where I am. So I thought I would do it. So it just, I think with me, is it lingered on for too long. And I did a post recently. I think what it is it is the layman way of doing an elimination diet. So what it is you can survive on beef and water. So it is a good way to eliminate all other things. A lot of those things probably are aggravating you. So it gives you time to let your gut relax, but you need just enough time before it starts getting sick, which is, I think, what was happening with mine, before you start slowly reintroducing foods to figure out what the problem foods are. Because I don't think anyone should go to bed bloated. And I mean, that was my life. That's as much as
I just feel like 90% of us are going to bed.
Well, that's it. But you know what? I think 98% of us are eating something that we shouldn't be eating. And whether it's down to a food dye, it can be as simple as that. So what I did was, as soon as I started not feeling well, I reintroduced because I wasn't taking any probiotics or any, like I dove into this way of eating. I thought, if you're going to do this, you do
want it full out.
Yeah, there's no point in doing it and then on weekends, eating a burger, because it's going to negate any kind of beneficial result that you might have. So I really was pretty square about doing it. But then I realized it wasn't. So then it was this urgency to start reintroducing things. And there was fear attached with that. Like, I don't know what to reintroduce. So I started by just steaming spinach and having the water. And that seemed fine. So then I started to have the steamed spinach. And then I started to reintroduce other things. So, and olive oil, versus just the Coke. I was having MCT oil, which made me feel good in my soul because it's anti-inflammatory. So now I still haven't had a single fruit since August. And I used to love, I do love fruit, but I haven't even had stevia or any kind of sweetener. I've had nothing sweet, not even gum. I don't even chew. Every time I have my coffee, you probably see me at the gym brushing my teeth because I need to clean my mouth, but I won't have gum. So I have eliminated all sugars and I feel fantastic. I really feel great. So it was a journey. It's all a journey. And there's no quick fix. It took a long time, but I have reset my body. And now I'm rebuilding only with foods that and it's very simple. And I'm still only eating twice, maybe 3 times a day. And I tell you, that lets your gut rest. And that is the most
that for me is
thing.
Normal. You talking about eating every hour.
Yes.
We all have such very different experiences as to when and how we feel good. I think for people who are questioning that they don't feel like they fit into that box, I think your way of thinking is very much outside of the box. Are you doing courses? Like, how do you deal with your clients then? For people who are looking for information, because some people are going, okay, she thinks outside the box because I'm dealing with these circumstances also. Are you online courses? Are you coaching? I mean, I see you at the gym, but
yes.
How does their business work?
Okay, so I see clients. My preference is to see practically a client, so they come to my home or what have you. So I coach them in nutrition. It's holistic. I got to do the whole thing. I can't not. As far as my online coaching is concerned, I've changed it, and I really enjoy this. Is I meet with them via FaceTime once a week, just for 30 minutes. And so I don't give one program or I don't give one dietary way of eating. We start with something. So the first month is a little bit more time intense and work intense. And then every week we set goals and we accomplish them every week. And then we assess, how is everything going? Oh, you need a slight change up with your program. We do that. With the diet, how is this working? We'll try this. Have you, okay, so just eliminate this week. So I work on elimination sort of diet. So a lot of people, there's so much room to grow, or to change, like, so we just start by either eliminating or reintroducing something else. But I will never, so I will never inflict on anyone, or however you want to put it. I will never get someone to do what I have done. Everyone is so different. What I do know is, with the way people are, with certain symptoms, something might not be right. And I do know the psychological component of getting from one place to the next. So I know baby steps, or how we need to work with your baby steps will be different than theirs. I'm sorry. But I know that in our mental, it's all a mental game, right? So that's the way you have to get started. And I'll never say go beef only, or go, like, I will not. And everyone's gut biome is different too, right? So I can't tell, but if you write down, or if you're at least aware of how my body feels after doing this or without doing this, we can work from there. And every week we get to have that little check-in, so that I make sure that I keep a good record of it, and we progress. And so then 6 months down the road, things have completely changed, but it's been almost you haven't noticed, because it's just been
And small. I think your method is these baby steps. You're not
Yes.
yelling, going rah 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 anymore. It's
no,
the small
unless
baby
you
steps.
want that, and then I will give it to you, and like what? But I'm not an advocate of that.
No, and especially for people who are dealing with these chronic diseases, is to take the baby steps to that day where you feel like, okay, this is the new normal, but I'm back to a normal.
And it's a roller coaster ride, and anyone who has a chronic illness or doesn't feel right in some way, there's a lot of fear associated with that. And I live with that on a daily basis. And I'm not a negative person. I'm very positive and I'm very proactive. But forgive but don't forget. Like, I will always remember that. And I will do anything for that not to happen again. But you got to be aware, because our bodies change. Our mindset changes. The environment that we cannot control around us changes. And we have to just plug through it, being aware. So presence. Be present.
People have the awareness right now and the presence to be able to have some of this information and to be able to check out more information. Kalessy, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I have Facebook as well. It's Fitness with Kalessy. And
Fitness with, and then spell your name.
Kalessy.
There you go. Fitness with Kalessy.
But I'm more active on Instagram. And you can DM me.
Perfect. Okay. I'll have the information and you can see it in the podcast write-up. Thanks so much, Kalessy. Definitely interesting. I'll have a different perspective the next time I'm seeing you at the gym, and next time I'm 6 months bloated at night kind of going, what did I do today? That is a wrap on Living Your Life with Leanne Lang. Once again, if you have the ability, please like and share, subscribe. I'll be able to get this podcast out to a bigger reach. And to let people know that we are talking everything health, fitness, motivation, inspiration to be able to help make your life just a little bit better each and every day.